Okay, moving from one age grade to another.
Yes, moving from
Is a requirement.
moving from a young girl to a woman. Yes, so you're required to practice, or should I say, to get your female cut. If not, you are not. Should I say, you're denying her that should I say, being accepted socially or culturally accepted in society. So I remember one of the women that I spoke with. She complained that she was caught. She actually told me that she was caught when she was about getting married, and since then she had this issue, enjoying sex, we have talked about sexual pleasure. And for her, when she learned that FGM can actually be a cause, to women not enjoying sex, she was really very traumatized. Yes, she was traumatized. She felt very angry, and she was more angry at her mom, who actually led her to be caught. Yeah, so I think for me, it actually also made me traumatized because one, I wasn't married, and I am not still married. But again, I started feeling it that imagine if I was caught, how terrible could that be? So that was my first-hand experience with FGM.
Okay, now you're working with girls and women. What should a girl do if the parent, maybe the mothers especially, I know that the mothers are the ones who champion the schools. If the mother says, okay, let's take you for to go and circumcise you for this, that reason, since you're still under their care, what should the female do at that stage? Since you're not expected to disobey your parents at that stage.
Yes,
maybe a girl of 13, 14, and
who cannot make decisions for herself. I think it's very, very dicey, but we start by educating them, letting them know that this is not the right practice for you. And when I think for us, for that project, it's called Youth Advocacy Against Female Genital Mutilation. It was intended to be named Youth Advocacy because we know that we have parents, you understand? So when you begin to advocate to your parents, at home when you're eating, it could just say, mom, that thing, it's not a good thing, we shouldn't do it. Just keep saying it consistently. At some point, they will hear you, and that is you advocating to your parents. So I think the first thing to start is to sensitize the young girls, letting them know, not necessarily that they will not be caught. We don't know about that yet, but letting them know that when they grow up and become mother, because they will be mothers, they will not circumcise their own female children. Then again, we need to talk to teachers, talk to guardians, and talk to parents, letting them know that, see, you do not need to circumcise your children for them to be
your female children.
Your female children, yes, thank you. For them to be decent, to be moral. Just like Dr. Betty said, trust the thing is that when you circumcise somebody and it gets her, should I say, she's affected to the extent that she's not able to enjoy sex, she will jump from one person to another, just seeking for enjoyment. And by so doing, she's promiscuous. She's becoming promiscuous. Something that you thought you wanted to remove, but you actually ended up, should I say,
making the person to experiment.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. Betty, you are a medical practitioner. You told us about one type of MGM. Are there other types you would not like to talk about? How they carry out this exercise?
Yeah, so I practically said all the types because there are different stages, and there are type 1, type 2. They have other names from the bottom and all that, which I don't want to say here. But there are different degrees to which people are circumcised, and some people, I mean, there's a category that has everything, whether it's a ring you put there or you just nick, because what people are doing now is like just seem to be doing it, it's like a ceremony.
Not doing it.
Now, so instead of the cutting, because as she has said, we're going out there, we're talking about the negative effects, we're saying it's a human rights violation, we're talking to not just the young people, we're also talking to parents, we are talking to religious leaders, community leaders, because everybody has to be reached. Everybody is something that is rooted in the culture. Of course, we're looking at laws also, and the laws that are available are also speaking to that. So it's a holistic thing. But people are, I mean, I've had 2 people at least that live abroad that brought their children home just to be circumcised. So we're talking something that is entrenched.
Even people that are enlightened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So culture, and I don't want to use religion, because there's none of the religion that speaks to female circumcision. It's just male, at least for the Christian. Female circumcision, I don't see it written anywhere, not in the two major religions that we know. So whatever it is, whether they are now doing it, they're saying, oh, you say there's infection or that, but we are doing it now in the confines of the hospital, or is a nurse that is doing it, or a healthcare provider that is doing it.
Really?
They are now using sterile material, so they are coming up with different ways to say, okay, you said this, why not this? But this is beyond the effect. It's about the rights of the girl child. Remember, the girl child is so strategic that her development, her empowerment speaks to the empowerment of the entire world, the nations, the communities. Because when a girl child is empowered, it touches on every other person, because she grows to be the mother that will take decisions on housekeeping, on feeding, on how the children are raised, and on whether the next generation of people will be circumcised or will do right. So it's not about the type of FGM. It's the idea that FGM is a human right violation.
So no type is acceptable.
No type
shouldn't be done.
not even a ring. You put a nick, oh, there's no wound. Okay, this one will not cause this problem.
They put ring.
Yeah, there are some that they just put a little ring. Just so the idea is they just want to mutilate, like they just want to touch that place. So like I said, for some it's like a ceremony, it's like a belief they have that, oh, we have done the ceremony so that you can be accepted, just like she said, so that you are now of age, so that you are now part of, you have passed
How did you escape it?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I always tell my story.
Oh, please.
I always tell my story, and that was why when you asked the question, what can a young girl do? And that's why we're raising awareness. We know that, of course, children are under authority. So you try multi-pronged approaches. You get to the mothers. Better still, you get to the fathers to see that, this thing is not right. And once the fathers give the go-ahead, the mothers will follow suit, right? If the father says, I know of one that the father says, not on my watch, this thing will not happen, and it didn't happen. So for me, when my mother hears this, she always, I was a full-fledged doctor at the time I was getting married, and at the time I had my first pregnancy. Like I said, for my community, it has to be during your first pregnancy.
And every woman must do it. Wow.
Well, so like I didn't do it.
Okay.
So then, I didn't do it.
Okay.
And so because of my, will I say, level of knowledge or awareness, I don't want to say level of education, because the levels of education haven't done much to change that mindset. But because I was aware, because I was knowledgeable in these things, I was able to tell my mom that, I'm not going to do this, and my children are not going to be affected. And it beats me, because we all claim in this part to be Christians. And so as a Christian, I mean, the little I know is that you are now from another kingdom. You're now a child of God.
Exactly.
So you cannot say, because of my father is now God. Jesus is now my brother. So, I mean, I remember clearly telling my mom that I am not from Abua. Are you forgetting something? I am not from Abua.
Did you marry outside your place?
Yes. So that makes it easier, really. Especially, so my husband is not from Abua. So, I mean, that will not work for me. What works for you? I mean, to the glory of God, I have 3 children. They are alive and well, and none died because I still had an intact clitoris. So, so people need to know and be convinced that nothing will happen. So I'm here and I'm saying my testimony. Somebody could hear that. And like she said, we did a work in 2019, early 2020, before the COVID, early 2020. So when I became president M1 in 2019, 2020, FIDA, NAWOJ, medical women, we went to Abua. So we went to my community to talk about female genital cutting. And of course, FIDA is there. They will always bring the law, the laws that are provided for in Rivers State. We're not talking even outside. there are laws, and then even the Violence Against Persons Prohibition law now, you know, the VAP for the entire country, the act, and then the law of Rivers State still speaks to it, even if it's not clear, but at least it recognizes it as a violation and as a form of violence. So as I was saying, we went there and we talked about it. Now we even took some testimonies of people they didn't know. A lot of people don't know. So yes, we need to do so much more work to raise awareness. In 2017, we went to another community, not mine, but still in Abua, and we had a community dialogue with the leaders of the community. And then the oldest man of that community, we asked him, so sir, how did this start? How did, you know, like, because we are trying to know, you need to get to the roots to know how to solve the problem. How did it start? And he says, oh, when I came into the, you know, as I was born, this is how we met it. This is how we met it. This is how we met it. Nobody is asking the why. Why is it so? So you find out that we have just carried on with things that are not beneficial because nobody is bold enough to ask the why.
Okay.
And people are also not doing it. You know, nobody will tell you, but there are people who are not doing it and nothing is happening and they are covering it up. So we need to come out and keep talking about this. People need to know it's a violation of the rights of that little girl, whether you do it as a child, because sometimes they do it in children. There are some communities for them it's children less than 5 years, some it's teenagers, and then some older. So in all ramifications, it's really bad.
All right, the program is still Let's Talk Marriage on